What's going on, guys? We are Tottenham TV here. It's been a long day. It has been a crazy last 24 hours in the world of football. We have UEFA, we have FIFA, we have the Premier League scrambling around to kind of throw every single threat they can at these 12 clubs looking to create a Super League, a breakaway Super League, which is going to completely change the nature of football. It's really been a massive story in the past 24 hours. And what one of the things that it has done, it has united all the fan bases across the Premier League, or especially the fan bases of the Big Six, who completely want rid of this idea. The aim of this stream is to try and speak to some of the clubs of the big teams, of the Big Six, who have got involved in this kind of atrocity, I would call it, of this European Super League. I, for one, am completely against it. I can't stand the very idea of taking competition out of the game. It really is so disheartening that this is really becoming very quickly a reality. And I want to basically get opinions from other fans of other clubs and get what their take on it at the moment is, because Spurs fans are not the only club going through this with their owners. There's another set of clubs as well who are basically have their owners taking their club into their own hands and taking ownership of their club, when in reality, without the fans say so as well. It's important to know that they've done this behind the fans' back without any sort of fan consultation, and they're pretty much going ahead with it with a power grab, which football kind of has never really seen at this kind of level. And it seems to be becoming a reality with every waking hour that we live through. It's becoming more and more reality, and it's our responsibility as fans to push back as much as we can to try and make sure this doesn't happen, because it's going to change football forever, and it's not going, for my opinion, it's not going to change it for the better. And I'm really, really worried about what the future of football looks like with this new setup, which takes away competition, which self-appoints clubs as elite and tells other clubs that they're not good enough, essentially, to be part of our little crew that we've created, and we're going to be there for the long haul. And that's not what I think the values of football are. That's not the football I like to watch. That's not the competition I like to see. It kind of sends a message that your club will never make it. Even like there was an illusion before, even if you say the illusion was just that, an illusion, but it kind of now it's writing it into the rules that you're never going to make it to the top. We're here to stay, and you're just here to ride along. And it's really, really astonishing how this is coming around. Astonishing at one point, but then another point you could say all totally predictable. But we've got some fans waiting in the background. Let's get Louis on first, because Louis Beneventi, our Chelsea resident Chelsea fan, is in the building. Let's get him on. Louis, good to have you on, mate.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Not good. Not good at all. It's been a rough 24 hours, let's be honest, hasn't it? I mean, the news broke kind of yesterday. There was inklings about about an announcement. No one was really sure if it was actually going to happen. Then we got the announcement at like 11 o'clock at night. What was your immediate reactions yesterday when your Chelsea? I don't know what time your club Chelsea actually broke the news in terms of an official announcement. I'm guessing it was around 11.
Well, I was actually on FaceTime to a Spurs fan, and we kind of reviewed both statements. So our statement came out about 5-10 minutes after you guys. And what I think shocked me the most, even in hindsight, it really shouldn't have done, was the fact that it was just a uniform statement across all clubs. Now, obviously, they've all been doing it together, so it makes a lot of sense as to why it may be considered a uniform statement. But at the same time, that was when I kind of realised there's just a complete lack of empathy for supporters of the club. The fact that just everyone said exactly the same thing. Now, I reviewed it again earlier today, and there's been slight changes across the two statements. So, I think they've finally realised or tried to get around people because they think people are stupid.
What kind of changes?
So it's just little words, little things that kind of altered it. So it seemed, not that it seemed more orientated towards specific fans, but it was just little stupid things, like little key words and little like similes of how and the ways that things were worded differently. And you look at it, and it's almost like they've done that to make you try and think that you haven't looked at other sites, you haven't looked at what other things are being said. But the thing that really annoyed me the most was they're saying we want to work with key stakeholders, mostly with fans. I've never heard such rubbish, such hypocrisy, such disregard, blatant, feigned and basically feigned interest in what they think of people. I look at Liverpool for this mainly. I look at Manchester United. You look at the Busby Babes. You look at Bill Shankly and what they've done for those respective clubs. And this whole "you never walk alone" mentality at Liverpool. Football without fans is nothing. It's all a load of rubbish. Chelsea, I think they haven't hidden their complete disregard. I think the one thing which works in the favour for Chelsea especially is that as fans, including myself, I actually own a portion of the pitch at Chelsea. We also own the naming rights to the club. So if Chelsea do try and move away from this, it's going to go full on pro evolution. You know, they're going to be London Blue rather than Chelsea Football Club. So, you know, I'm hoping that they realise what they're doing is wrong. I'm big going down to Stamford Bridge tomorrow, along with fantastic supporters groups. Obviously, like I said, the Chelsea Supporters Club, We Are the Shed, other fantastic content creators, and just general people. A good friend of mine, Jack Waterman, who's very passionate about this and wants to make a difference. We're going to be down at the ground tomorrow.
Do you know how many fans you're expecting there tomorrow?
I think you're looking at 100 plus, maybe.
Yeah.
We are going to be socially distancing and wearing masks, but I think there's stuff that we want to do to reinforce our point, all peacefully as well.
But in terms of your ownership, obviously you're still owned by Roman Abramovich, aren't you? And when you look at, like, say, Tottenham and Liverpool and Man United, there's always been this kind of combat with their owners. Like we've Spurs, especially, what I can talk from my point of view. Like we've always felt like the owners are only there to kind of make money. They're always there to kind of profit over everything. But it's fair to say you can't really say that for Abramovich. He has put his money where his mouth is. He has always looked to improve the team when it's needed to be. He's never been shy to kind of put his money in his pocket. And I think consistently Chelsea have kind of made losses, right, in to kind of in pursuit of trophies. I think, is that not fair to say?
I don't think we have over the past few years. I think we've actually broken even on on a couple of occasions. But yeah, I think Roman Abramovich has put his money where his mouth is. I don't know how much he even has to do this, considering his track record with Lampard over the past year. He's obviously not really been involved.
I was about to say, how much ire is there towards Roman Abramovich specifically, or the Chelsea hierarchy right now?
I appreciate everything that Roman Abramovich has done for Chelsea Football Club. If it wasn't for him, we'd be in a similar position to Portsmouth. We'd be down in the depths of football and potentially never to come back. We'd be in a completely different position to what we're in now. But I have a lot of contempt and a lot of anger towards people who, quite frankly, they might have done it out of the goodness of their heart. Now, we're talking Chelsea Football Club. We know we're the first. I think one of the first clubs to obviously give NHS workers, free bed and board, helping out with the club, make it at our hotels, obviously making big strides in terms of charity work and everything during the pandemic, keeping everyone on the same wages. All of this positivity right now, I don't even look at as positivity. I look at it as PR stunts, because there is no way that this decision and this conversation has only been happening in 2021. There's no way that all these clubs can be so organized and get this over the line as one group in less than 24 hours. All of these clubs have left the ECA. Chelsea left it this morning. I know that Manchester United and Juventus left it yesterday. There's no way that this has been such a uniform approach, which can be organised in 4 months, especially with the money that we're talking about. So the fact that this has all been done cloak and dagger, and there's been all this positivity going on to keep people going during the pandemic, all this talk of fans and supporting them, this just goes to show that clubs in the top 6 could not care less.
Yeah,
Chelsea, it's beyond me. I got all my anger out earlier. I did my own video, and I did go full blown old school Louis Beneventi. He just lost his rag, but
back to the glory days, some would say.
Well, I'd say far from it. But look, the fact that this is even a conversation happening, the fact that obviously I run my own football club, Imperial Wharf. The fact that I've had people approach me today and go, Louis, would you consider being a potential Phoenix club? The fact that that's a conversation that's happening, the fact that there's top 6 clubs that are potentially looking at fan groups and going, do you know what, we're going to do an AFC Wimbledon, we're going to do a Bury Phoenix, we're going to do an FC United. The fact that this is even a conversation which is even happening just goes to show the complete polar opposites of the spectrum in which football fans and large-scale football clubs are operating. It's beyond me. I don't get it.
What's in terms of the feelings right now, in the Chelsea fan base? Like, if this does get pushed through, what do you think the reaction would be? Because it looks like to be honest, it is looking like that right now. It is looking like they're not going to care what the PR is. They're not going to care what the backlash is at this current time. It looks like the threats from UEFA and from the Premier League might just be empty threats, and they won't actually go through with it. So this current time, it might very well go through. And what would your reaction in terms of if it does go through? Like, will you stop supporting Chelsea? What's your reaction if it does?
I can't even contemplate what's going to happen with that, because obviously my career is also completely revolving around Chelsea Football Club. I think the first thing I've done is I've not done a preview for tomorrow's game against Brighton, and I won't be doing a review either. I've had to reinvent myself twice already in the past 2 years, so I can do it again. I can figure out what I do from a career perspective, but from a fan perspective, I was literally just on the phone to my dad, and we don't know. We don't know. I guess I just got to deal with that as and when it happens. But mentally for me, there's a lot of emotion around Chelsea Football Club, as there are for football fans of every club that they support. Because of everything that's happening with Chelsea, I'm going to miss out on huge landmarks which every football fan has in their life. I'm not going to take my kid up the steps at Stamford Bridge and get them to see their first Chelsea game. I'm not gonna. My dad's not going to be able to do that with his own grandchild. There's so much culture that revolves around football fans that has been completely disregarded by. Let's not even call them football clubs anymore. Let's call them what they are. They consider themselves conglomerates.
Franchises.
I can only. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. Mentally, right now, I'm just trying to deal with it. And before I even consider, those next steps, I want to do what I can to help save what I see in a football club. I want to help save the culture. We've already lost out on so much over the past 2 years. We've already lost out on so much.
Louis, I'm going to bring Casey on with us. So Casey's going to be joining us. Casey Evans is a Man United fan. He is, I think he's formerly of the Stretford Paddock, or still with the Stretford Paddock. But he's coming on now. Let's bring him on. Let's bring on Casey. Hi, Casey. Thanks for joining us, mate.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, awesome, awesome to have you on, man. Obviously, I hope you've been, listening to what Louis has been saying. Very passionate about the current situation as well. From a Man United perspective, what's like the out of the fans? How's they've reacted to kind of when the news broke last night? What's the kind of feedback been?
Well, I think it's been the same as with most fans. It's kind of just a betrayal. It's a betrayal of what the club stands for. It's a betrayal of what the club was built on. It's a betrayal of like everything that over the last 100 years that this country has done with sport and everything. It's just in every sport, not just football. Competition is a very important thing, and trying to be the best at that sport is what has driven it. And the fact is this is completely replacing that with money. I mean, like, I feel like some fans aren't surprised. Obviously, the Glazers have been a massive part of our club. I'd say in 2005, I was probably too young to fully understand the sort of response and the reasons that FC United were created and all that sort of thing. And it's only more recently that I've kind of got the sort of fully got it why everyone hates the Glazers. Like, it's been all like they were kind of passive for a few years. They were obviously taking money out of the club, but they were never really in your face, kind of awful. But it's just this is just over the line. This is just an attack. This is basically taking something that people love and you owned, and the reason that you own it is because people love it and people have such a whole passion for it. They wouldn't own United if people didn't love this club. And they've just taken everything that everyone holds dear and been like, we're just going to completely change it. Everything that in the history, everything that Sir Matt Busby built, everything that Sir Alex Ferguson built, everything that every single player who's ever played for the club, the people behind me, I've got Ruud van Nistelrooy, George Best, name a few, Ronaldo, Cantona. Cantona has recently just come out and said the same thing as a lot of United fans. It's just taking everything and just spitting in the face, basically.
Yeah, and is it also all the more unsettling in a sense that because the game has gone so global, it's kind of what they're relying on in a sense that like they could lose every fan in Manchester in terms of if they go to a Super League, every fan in Manchester could turn away. But yet, because they're such a global fan base, like they could still be successful with it, and that's kind of like the most like alarming thing. Like it's so discerning, like thinking about that, and like the fact that kind of there's this feeling of helplessness that the club you grew up with is kind of getting away from you. There's nothing you can do about it. Like how can you even approach that?
It's hard to look at because the thing is like last night there was a statement. I think there was obviously like loads of little things coming out, but then there was one line that really stuck out to me, and it was the people that are complaining on social media was expected, but we consider them legacy fans. This model is for the fans of the future.
Yeah. Oh man.
And
that really got me. That really got me.
Agreed.
I did break a plate when I read that. I have a mark on my wall where I threw a plate at it, and I'm not even Greek. That is just like it's. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it.
It just hurt you. It hurt me in a place that it was just like deep down, because it was like, no matter what we say or no matter what we do, it was just like, this is something that they want to happen regardless. And I think Gary Neville was talking on Monday Night Football just probably like an hour ago or so. And he said, put something very poignant out there. He said that the fact that Joe Glazer has put his name to this is a big thing, because he doesn't put his name to anything. As I said, for years, he was kind of that silent spectre in the background, just collecting his dividends, walking away. And it wasn't good for the club, but it wasn't as bad as this is. Like this, it was never like offensively against them. And the thing is it's just, it just hurts. It hurts. And it wasn't that I was angry. I read it and I was like, I feel nothing right now. And I should feel something. I should care more than I should feel like I care more than I do. But I just at the point, it was like, if they don't care about what we think, why should I? And that's not something I want to feel about a football club that I've dedicated 20 odd years of my life to.
Completely agree. It is really, really been a tough past 24 hours and it's also kind of a smack of realization of where the football club owners' heads are at in reality. It's kind of there's kind of been a facade whenever clubs put out statements that they really care about fans, blah, blah, blah. But that facade has completely been lifted through this whole incident. Now it's plain as day for everyone to see what their true intentions are. And it really isn't. And it's really, really telling. And it's so, I don't know, it's heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking when I see my football club go through this. And, what do you say to fans? For example, there are fans of Tottenham because, we haven't won trophies much, like ever. And we've won like
it's the delivery. I'm sorry.
It's true.
We haven't won trophies, not really ever.
Like ever. And like, that's the reality of the situation. So there are a lot of Tottenham fans out there, maybe a lot of younger fans, who kind of have this feeling of maybe a bit of relief or something that there is a European Super League and we have been included in it in that sense. And they kind of like, they have this sense that Tottenham have secured the future. Like, it's better to be in it than out of it in that sense. And like, why are we complaining so much? Like, what do you say to fans who think like that, in terms of like, maybe it is kind of a selfish way of thinking, because they're not thinking of like the wider football community, they're thinking of their own club. But in a sense that if you are just thinking of your own club, it is better to be in it than out it in that sense. So what do you like say to those kind of fans who are thinking with that kind of thought process?
Fuck off.
Simple to word answer.
Fair play.
End of.
I'd say, yeah.
Sorry, I normally like to behave myself, but just piss off. They're not welcome. If that's how people are thinking, and they're going, it's better to be in this and out of it. Da, da, da. So if you're happy to just watch your club die and the community and the culture around it die, then be my guest, like the Super League. If you can't appreciate the impact that all these clubs have on their surrounding communities, and not only do they have the impact on communities from the perspective of, just helping out in the community when they do these little PR things where they go into schools and all this sort of stuff, there's actually an impact in terms of grassroots football teams, in terms of local businesses, in terms of everything, which is now going to be impacted by this. If that's how people are thinking and operating, it's that sort of short-sightedness which has allowed this to happen, which has allowed us to get into this position, because people haven't fought hard enough for the sake of the sport and what it means to people. As Casey was saying earlier about even stuff down to the competition. If people are sitting there going, "Oh, I don't want to play Brighton every week, I want to play Real Madrid every week," and all this sort of stuff, then you don't understand how important it is and how special it is for these sort of events to happen. How important the Champions League is and the culture behind it. I honestly, if there are genuinely people out there that are thinking like that, they don't understand the sport. Go watch another sport. Go watch Crufts. I don't care. I don't have any interest. Casey, don't look at me like that.
I thought of all the things you could have chose there. You chose the dog. The dog.
I don't.
There's nothing wrong with Crufts.
I know, but there's nothing wrong with Crufts. But if they want to go and spend thousands on a pedigree bloody chihuahua called Greg, then go do it. Don't waste my time.
Have you seen any, goes to Louis or Casey, have you seen any of your fan base on social media or whatever react in that kind of way? Because I have seen a few Spurs fans. Yes, it is a tiny, tiny minority, but I have seen a few Spurs fans react in that way.
You get the United fans that you always get, where it's like we are elite and we're meant to be playing with the elite, and it's all about putting ourselves above the club, no matter other clubs, no matter what. And it's pathetic. It honestly is pathetic to watch, because those are the same people who are like, "Oh, Solskjaer's not good enough, bringing Allegri like within 2 games and stuff like that," is like all this sort of thing, even though you can see progression there. The fact that I'd say to it is, I'm not going to go as hard as you say, Louis. I'm not going to go down that line. But there's the phrase, the magic of the game. And I'm going to be poetic here, obviously. The phrase, the magic of the game, is it's a fantastic watch. You enjoy it. There's so much around it. You get into it, like everything about it. But what about when it wears off? Because you see it of a 15-team closed league. You playing against these top teams, these top teams that you currently only play, maybe, Spurs a bit less, but currently only play on a little basis every once in a while. And then you look forward to those matches. Like Chelsea are playing Real Madrid in the semi-finals, and that's a match that hasn't happened in a while. And that's like a match that's big because Chelsea haven't lost, Tuchel hasn't lost, like that sort of thing. It's the sort of that. You're playing them every year, maybe once or twice. If you're not at the top of the table, you're getting beaten by those teams. And do you really want to be in a league where everyone's like battering you about like you're nothing? And then also the point is like, what happens to the games if someone like City or someone like Liverpool ends up doing, or Bayern Munich or Juventus end up doing what they've been doing in their leagues for years and going 15, 18 points ahead? Those games about it just become nothing. There's no promotion, there's no Champions League, there's no relegation. Those games are just nothing. And that's the thing that annoys me the most, because those games are going to be marketed as, oh, we're going to go play them in a random country and people from that country can come and watch it. And it's such a spectacle because they don't get to see them often. But the fact is, the people who watch these games week in, week out will slowly begin to just hate the game they used to love. And like that's the thing, like people think it's a great idea now, but if it happens, we've got it for 23 years. It's not like, oh, it's a 3-year thing and we'll see how it goes. It's 23 years of this, and there might not be Premier League. Apparently, even if there is Premier League, they're going to talk about telling the managers to play weakened squads, so it's not going to even be competitive in the Premier League. Cups, European competitions. You're basically ruining every aspect of the game that you've loved so far just to have this one competition that you might end up hating. And if you think of it like that, that's a really bleak way to look at it.
Yeah, it's a bit like, loving, you like a good steak once in a while, but then all of a sudden, these corporations like, oh, these guys like steak, let's give them steak for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that's pretty much what they're doing with this European Super League. Like, the novelty will wear off. It will wear off. It's like very quickly, I feel, with these fixtures, and especially like pretty much halfway through this Super League, if it goes ahead, like half the fixtures are meaningless because there's one team who's going to win it. What, do you get a prize for finishing in the top 5 or top 4 or top? Like when you're 18th in the Super League, getting battered every week, what incentive is there to kind of watch these games where they're like, it doesn't mean anything? They don't mean anything on the latter stages when you're near the bottom. Like when there's no relegation at stake, when there's no stakes, what is the point? What the novelty will surely wear off. Like, what kind of product are they creating? Are these people that stupid that they think this product is superior to what they have now?
I mean, like, I think that's where it comes into it, that we're the legacy fans who have grown up with this old brand of football, and they're hoping that the new fans will just accept the way that football's going to be. And that's depressing. Also, you said steak a load of times in that sentence, and it kind of started sounding weird to me. But
now, to be honest, that's kind
yeah,
of
to be fair, like a good steak would be nice right now, but not every
Once
meal.
in a while. Once in a while. No, but no, I completely agree. And in terms of, apparently as well, I was reading today, I think it was one of the Sky reporters saying it, although I don't know whether to trust a lot what the Sky reporters say, because they do have a vested interest in this not going ahead. So
yeah.
when they name sources from unnamed top 6 club, unnamed sources, I'm like, is it? But apparently they said a lot of the US owners in the Premier League apparently don't get why we have relegation, and are like, they don't understand it, why it's a thing, and that's why they want to just get rid of it. They think it's just a pointless point of the league, and like they don't understand what it means to earn your place somewhere. They don't really get the concept of achieving something, working hard. Like when Spurs got Champions League in 2010 for the first time, that was like years and years in the making. That's why it felt so good when we were actually beating Inter Milan and beating AC Milan and getting those glamour ties, because you really earned it. You really felt that you'd earned your way to the top table, and just being given it through money. I mean, that will it feel like you've earned anything? You've done anything to get there?
Absolutely not. And I mean, the fact that call me, some people might call me a ditzy liberal for this, but I think one of the big things, and it's must be this way I've been raised, if you're coming into a different culture, you learn that culture and you appreciate that culture for what it is. Now, I know that's not football related, but it still stands. If the Americans want to come in and behave like the stereotype, which they're given a lot of the time, which is basically come in, throw their weight around and fuck off, which is pretty much what's going to happen. You know, if this goes wrong, put it this way, and Case and I actually had a conversation about this earlier. If this goes wrong and the Super League falls apart, it doesn't go ahead. Right now, as we speak, it might not still be going on, but Premier League clubs, the other 14, are sat having a meeting debating whether or not the 6 clubs that want to form a breakaway should still be in the Premier League. If they are not, all these clubs will be put down to the bottom divisions, right? If that happens, the Glazers will walk away from Manchester United. Kroenke will walk away from Arsenal. I don't know what's going to happen with Tottenham. I don't know what's going to happen with Chelsea. I don't know what's going to happen with City. And I'm missing someone else here. And FSG will walk away from Liverpool. So the 3 American owners will walk away and leave a carcass of a club to rebuild and go again. Now, in some people's eyes, that might be a good thing. It might be a case of you can then implement the 50+1 rule. You can then make sure that clubs and fans have ownership over those clubs' history and everything else. The fact that is a concept, that such prestigious clubs, and all of the big 6 are prestigious, you know, in their own right. In this scenario, I mean, and I think Steve Parrish hit the nail on the head. There are clubs which, you know, based on how this is going and what the criteria is, there are clubs like Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest, all these historically large clubs are not even getting a look in it because they don't have the money. But it finds me scared. I find it scary that there's an actual potential that these huge clubs will simply just fall into a brand new stage, and the Premier League and the English League will become incredibly dull. It will become not as contest. It won't be as strong. You won't have these huge contests going on anymore. People won't have eyes on it. And I mean, the prime example of where that's gone wrong. Look at Scotland. Look what happened when Rangers got demoted all the way down to the bottom. Now, when Rangers were still at the top table in the early 2010s, there was still a sense of contest. There was still a sense of, let's actually watch this, because it's actually a very interesting game that could happen, a very interesting league where there are certain things that could happen, right? You look at how long it's taken for them to even make that league relatively interesting again. Think how weak the English divisions will become, purely because people have become greedy and they wanted to make more money than anybody knows what to do with. The prospect of them and them coming in saying they don't understand promotion and relegation and just wanting to throw their weight around and basically cause huge repercussions throughout the game says everything you need to know. And it is vile. And it scares me. It scares me, the fact that there are people with such power who are so incredibly stupid.
Yeah, and on that point, I just got a super chat here from Will Stewart. He says, as a foreign fan, it's time to embrace foreign fans more and win them to the cancel ESL cause. Bashing foreign fans like some of the hate I've seen in the comments will only push them to the European Super League. We need to unite the fans. And just I was talking on that. I was talking, we did a live stream earlier today, and we had a lot of American fans on, and they were all dead set against this idea because they look at the game and the reason why they watch football, being an American fan, because obviously it's not the biggest sport out in America, is because they like that you can get relegated and promoted and all these different things. They like that element to it. They like the extra competitiveness. They don't like to see the same teams over and over again. They actually like that it's different. And the fact that the American owners have seen that and think, let's take away the elements that the American fans like and make it more American is completely missing the point. And Casey, obviously, Man United have American owners, don't they? With the Glazers, are there a lot of planned protests going at the moment? I know I saw a few banners outside Old Trafford today, but is there anything being organised at the moment in terms of protesting this?
Not to my knowledge in terms of protest. There were the banners today. I'm sure there'll probably be something eventually. The Man United Supporters Trust were on Sky Sports talking about today. It's the fact that you just know they just don't listen. That's what our problem is. The fact is that we've done it before. We've done it before when they first joined and they didn't listen. They bared it out. So it's kind of the situation of what do you do? Do you try it again? I mean, I hope people do try it again. I hope people stand out there and make themselves known. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Like as Lou was saying, they've come in knowing American sports, and I as a fan of basketball, I can kind of sympathize that once the problem is that you have the teams that stay in the league, and once they know they're doing terribly, they go on something called tank season, which is where they actively try to lose games, which is not fun for anyone to watch whatsoever. Like it's a terrible thing. And the thing is like, I mean, there's not even that in a European Super League. It's like, unless you're like, oh, you might get a more favourable draw in a home match. Like, what does that even matter, really? Or there's no draft, there's no whatever. So it's like, as soon as you're done. You're just literally just playing matches for absolutely no reason. And it's just painful to watch because there's obviously not an understanding. There's never been an understanding. And the fact is that the Glazers came in at the start, and as they said, they bought the club. People weren't happy with it. There was another club created because people weren't happy with it. And the fact is they just went on blinders on, straight forward ahead. And the fact is it looks like it's another one of those situations because obviously, like I said, Joe Glazer doesn't put his name to stuff, and now he's the vice chairman of this new league. And we were discussing before, Louis, that the fact is the names behind it are like Joel Glazer, John Henry, Florentino Perez, sort of Agnelli from Juventus. It's kind of like this is just a spearhead of just very stubborn individuals.
Well, you've basically got Florentino Perez pretending he's fucking Thanos by turning around and just saying to, when they turn around and UEFA and say, well, you won't be able to play World Cups or European competitions, you go, oh, fine, we'll just make our own. It's like, what the hell is going on here? You hear that, and then you got Agnelli, was the cloak and dagger from Agnelli and from Ed Woodward astounds me. You know, this guy was the chair of the ECA, you know, and he's sitting there going, yeah, we'll work with this on UEFA. Don't worry about it. Ed Woodward has a conversation with the bloke who runs UEFA. I can't say his name. It's ridiculously hard to pronounce, and I've forgotten who he is now, to be honest. I just see his name so often. It's now just
Zephyrin, I think. Is
it Securit? Okay, yeah.
Zephyrin,
So he's gone and said, you know, I had a chat with Ed Woodward. He really liked the concepts. We had a conversation, and behind his back, he's going, "Oi, Agnelli, should we go do this? Should we go do that? Yeah, it's a really good idea. Or Florentino, do you fancy it, mate? Yeah. Let's just have a chat with JP Morgan and get 10 billion pumped into us. Fantastic."
It's like you imagine it's like a prank call where it's like they're on the end of the phone and then every once in a while they're covering it and just like laughing to each other and going back to it. Like it's that sort of thing. It's like all of them. Like Agnelli was in charge of the ECA and he was majorly like in terms of how this new Champions League format, which beside the point is awful. Like the way it works, like as I was discussing before, no one has ever complained, bar saying it should be the champions of each country. No one has really ever complained about the Champions League format. No. But the fact was, it's like, oh, here's a 36-team league, 8 teams go and play 10 games, they get in the top thing, and then it's like a playoff, and then there's a wild card, and everyone's like,
what?
This is confusing. And honestly, it stinks of they tried to make something so openly awful that the Champions League would be devalued as a competition, so this European Super League could then be seen as a better competition and a better alternative because it has the better teams, and it's also not an absolutely terrible mess.
It's true. Well, look, UEFA aren't the good guys here, are they? Let's be honest. And so there is a bit of a sentiment that FIFA and UEFA have kind of created this situation themselves with their running of their respective football associations. And do they have a lot of blame for you for the current situation that football's in right now?
Well, if you look at it a purely cynical business standpoint, you take all emotion out of it, you take all of the things what you shouldn't do, but I'm just going to say it. UEFA, Sky, BT, FIFA, all have problems with financials, all have problems with the leagues, they all make mistakes, they've all made terrible decisions and not listened to the clubs. They've all done all of that. And if you were a club from a purely business standpoint, they're saying, we want to have control of our own incomes, we want to do our own financial deals, we want to be able to control our own league. And if you look at it completely like that, it's fine. But the problem is, you can't look at it like that because then they've gone way far the other side to try and counter it by just being as greedy and as corrupt themselves. You can't fight being corrupt by being more corrupt. It's a sort of, it just doesn't work. It's like then you create the scenario where UEFA and FIFA and all that are looking like the lesser of two evils. The fact is that if they were like, we're going to chat, we're going to take a couple of years, we're going to discuss it, and we want to make a competition, we want to do all this sort of thing, we want it to be competitive, we want to keep the spirit of football there, we just don't agree with some of the stuff with UEFA, and we want to, as a conglomerate, come at you and say, these are the things we have problems with, it probably would not have had this negative reaction. The problem is they've just been like, nah, we're just going to ruin football, and we're just going to ruin it in not a couple of months, not a couple of years, in the space of 3 hours. 3 hours it took them to say they were doing the new league, come out of the ECA, not have a discussion with UEFA, and then launch the legal appeals that were needed to fight UEFA on what they exactly knew they were going to do. And the fact is it's just the sort of point where unity was needed, and we just went for a lot more division.
Yeah, it's absolutely correct. And I think that people are right to acknowledge that, UEFA were still a massive issue and it needed solving, but this is just exacerbating the issue, if anything. This is causing more problems than solving them. And I think that is the big issue that I think a lot of people are having. Let's get through some super chats. We've got one here from Josh King. It says, with the backlash and the bad press that's coming out in the last 24 hours from this, does anyone actually think they will go ahead with this next season? Are you at the moment, after the reason why I really do is because I don't think every club would have made a statement. I don't think they would have created their own branding, their own website, everything, if they weren't super serious about this going through. Do you think the bad press might convince otherwise, that this still might have a U-turn about it?
Let's look at this from their perspective. Let's put ourselves in their shoes rather than putting them in our shoes. Casey, offer me £400 million.
Okay, here's £400 million.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next year.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. They're literally there going, yeah, 400 million and 10 billion across 23 years. Yes, please. This still doesn't include, by the way, TV rights, which they're going to get because all the big players are going to be in it. It doesn't include other sponsorship. It doesn't include venue deals. It doesn't include ticket sales on revenue. It doesn't include marketing revenue. It doesn't include sales from shirts and stuff. We are sat here and they're going to just turn around and go, screw you. That's literally what it's going to be. They don't care. If they cared, this whole thing wouldn't have even happened. It's the only reason, the only way I can see it not happening is literally TV companies and everyone just turn around and say, we don't want anything to do with you. Go away. We're not interested. But no one will say that because you'll see people who are looking at this and likes of Amazon and beIN Sports and whoever's looking at it, they're going to be turning around going, okay, so Sky and BT might be out there, which means that we might be able to get a better deal and get even maybe for a bit cheaper or maybe a little bit more. And then that way we can be the sole broadcaster, which means that more people will come to our site because people will still pay to watch this. Irrespective.
They will, of course they will. There'll always be an audience for it. Exactly.
Put it this way, even if we don't renew our season tickets as fans, irrespective, and we touched on it briefly earlier, but we didn't go into it enough. The people that are in here right now, if they are season ticket holders, they don't go to the ground to do lots of different things. They go to the ground, they see their mates, might have a pint, might have a hot dog, they go home. What clubs want is they want consumers. They don't want football fans, they want consumers. They want us to literally go into the ground. First thing we do is pick up a program. That's, for example, at Chelsea, £3. We then walk into the stadium. Depending on the ticket, you're probably looking at between £54 and £70 right now. So let's just go bottom end for cheapest day out for them, basically. That's £54. That's 57. You then go and get a beer. That's £6. So you're now looking at £63. You then go and get a terrible hot dog or terrible food. You're probably looking at £7 there. You're looking at near enough £70 there. You then come out of the ground, by the way, or even at half time, might get another drink, might get a coffee. That's £73. We then walk out of the ground. We then go into the mega store. Oh, we want to get a shirt and a scarf and whatever. You're looking at maybe £100 plus there. And then we go home. You're looking at, they want £200 a head. They want people to go in and just spend. They don't care whose arse is on the seat. They just want to make sure that they're in there. It's as simple as that now.
So the thing is the thing of the future is there's still going to be kids. Kids and families will probably still end up supporting United because how can you explain to a child that a global conglomerate of giant financial Americans have come together and said you can't watch football anymore because we've ruined it? No, they won't know that. They'll be like, oh, I really like Manchester United. I really like spending time with my dad going watching it. I still want to go see it. And they're the fans they're focusing on. They're the fans like me when I was younger who didn't know any different about the Glazers and the Glazers takeover. That sort of fan who just doesn't understand it. And then they grow with this league and then they don't care because it's just how football is to them. And then the cycle starts again with them going to their kids and then other fans coming in, and obviously the fringe fans and all that sort of stuff coming in. It's just they're just recycling the legacy fans. That's the way they're looking at it. They're going, we might lose them, but we won't lose all of them.
Yeah, and in fact, I think people even forget this. Like this Big Six tried to do this not so long ago. Like not a European Super League, but they tried to do this in the Premier League. There was a power grab a few months ago, wasn't there, where they tried to get the Premier League to clubs to agree to allow the Big Six to kind of have a permanent stay in the Premier League, in exchange for extra money supposedly going down the pyramid. So this isn't like the first time, is it, that they've tried this kind of power grab, and it was as ultimately expected. Let me read a couple super chats. This is from Vinicius Carrier. It says, "I'm a foreign fan. According to this proposal, I should be happy once I'm a future fan. Do you know what is my opinion? This is shit football. Football's about passion and hard work. Let this model to USA non-history sports." Hashtag ENIC out. So he's clearly not happy with the Tottenham owners. Simon Gill says, if it fails, then make the owners have to sell the clubs at a loss to re-enter the Premier League. Louis, let me ask you this question. It's a tough question I'm going to ask you, but let me ask you this question. If it was a choice between having Chelsea re-enter the league at the 5th tier or going into a Super League, what would you choose?
5th tier.
Didn't even hesitate. It's that simple for you.
It's that simple. I'd rather go in at the 5th tier and then operate as a fan-owned club. I'd if it meant that Roman left and he was like, I'm not interested anymore, then if we're not going to do that, see you later. And it meant that we'd have to start from the bottom again. I'd rather do that. It's not. I don't even need to think about it. Why would I want to go watch Super League football? I don't. Do you know what? Do you know what this would mean for me if we went into the bottom tier? I can actually complete the 92 then. Happy days. I can actually head down to Luton Town and Stockport County and you know what, even playing Barnet. Do you know how I'd love to go to the Hive? I preferred it if it was Underhill, but you can go and try new things. But I'd rather do that and operate as a fan-owned club, and we build it ourselves, and we build and make sure that this never happens again. Yeah. I'd want to be proud to turn around and say, if my grandkids and great grandchildren could go and watch Chelsea Football Club and know that we saved it, then I'd die a happy man. But I'd never ever want to go near a European Super League. Not a chance in hell.
And Casey?
5th tier. I'll take that as well. Honestly, I think it'd be fantastic. It would just be a laugh. Honestly, take it down to the 5th tier. The fact is people would say, oh, but what about all the TV money? Could you imagine the TV money of the top 6 trying to get through Gateshead and then up to Burton Albion in the next season? Could you imagine that? Could you just imagine the spectacle that would create? So the TV money, it's fine. That's all right. No one cares about that. If the players don't feel like they want to play in the bottom tier of English football, fair enough. I feel like we have players that would happily stay at United for their entire careers. I feel like there's players in the academy that would happily stay at United because it's just a sort of ingrowth thing, and it help us build the academy back again. I feel like the academy is something that we're based on. And yeah, it would be a couple of years of, what are we doing? This is just complete and utter, just, but for a better word, it's just banter. It's just, honestly, honestly, no one has a clue what is going on. But I'd take that every time. And then when we got back to the Premier League, that would probably be one of the happiest moments in my life, because I'd be like, we managed to get back. we survived. We survived getting 2-footed on in Luton and everything. And it's just it'd be great. It'd just be great. It's just that sort of thing. It'd be something we would never experience. It'd be showing that as a club, removed from the owners, we want to do it the right way, which is the main part about it. We know that we have the spirit of competition. We have all that sort of thing that everyone's been going about. But we want to do it the right way. And then the fact is, I feel at that point, no one could really complain at us anymore. It's like okay, right, we've come up from the top. We've gone to the bottom tier. We did what you said. We're back here now. We're playing you. You get the fans taking the mick. But as a club, I think we could wear that with pride.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I completely echo those thoughts. And I think that we've come to a point at this stage where football has come so far in terms of that greed and selfishness that a hard reset essentially might just be the antidote at this point, because everyone is just so obsessed with winning and getting those trophies and getting all the money, getting that Champions League money. That's all that anyone cares about. The sense of community, the sense of just enjoying going to watch your football team is going to be completely lost in modern day football. And it was only a matter of time before something like this happened. And now we're seeing the consequences to basically billionaires and all this money coming into football for all these years. And it's been building up and building up and building up. And now here we are in a situation where we could be on the precipice of our beautiful game completely getting snatched away from us. But Louis and Casey, it's been an absolute pleasure having you both on. It's really been great having you on. It's been a really good chat, and I really appreciate both your times. And I look forward to having you both on soon.
Cheers, mate. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Really good to have you guys on. Thanks a lot, man.
Cheers.
All right. Yeah, that was really good. That was really enjoyed having both of those guys on, getting opinions from other rival fans, and it's really good to feel like I'm not the only one feeling the way I'm feeling in terms of the situation with this super club. I mean, obviously, when you look at the outrage, social media, I'm clearly not the only one. It's been massive, and there's been a massive backlash. But just getting to talk to fans of other clubs and really getting into like the psychology of how they're feeling as well, I think is very crucial, and it's a very big important part of uniting all the football communities to try and stop this, to try and somehow unite in a way that it can make it be known that this kind of idea just isn't welcome, and we need to stamp out as soon as possible. But are we ready for? All right, we've got Ray in the background. Ray from City Fan TV. Let's bring him on. Ray, good to speak to you as well. How are you doing?
As good as to be expected, mate. Yeah. Not great, with the news. If you've been supporting your club for 40 odd years, and then this crap comes out, you're going to be disgusted. You're going to be feeling let down. One big word that's come out, we're doing some work today, is betrayed. The fans have been betrayed by the clubs. Surprised, not surprised. Knew this was going to happen at some point, because money's where it's at. Everybody's chasing more and more money. That's all the clubs are interested. The fans for many years have not been a major consideration. It's if you look at my club, City, match day income is less than 10% of the overall income pre-COVID. So how much do the fans really matter? Your club, it's slightly different. It's going to be when you have a full season, it's going to be a big chunk of your income. So the match day fan means a little bit more to Daniel Levy than it means up in Manchester. But it's just a terrible day for football. But as I said, it's not a surprise. It was always going to come. It was always going to happen. Where they're looking for as much money as possible, as much certainty as possible. That's one of the things you hear. The markets like certainty, consistency, and clubs can't plan for the future if they don't know they're going to get in the Champions League or not. And that difference could be 80 million quid. Given the option of being there every year and being offered 325 or 350 million quid every single year, they're going to go for that every single time. We've got to be kidding ourselves that the clubs would do anything different. And as one of your guests, I think the Chelsea fan said earlier, if you were in their position, the chairman or the owner of the club, and you offered them 350 million quid to be in it, they'll take that every day because they're a business. And I'll say with a bit of mirth, this puts to bed this idea that Man City were bought as a sports washing project, because at the end of the day, they're trying to make as much money out of this as possible. If they were bothered about PR, they'd have said, we're not in for this. We're looking after the fans, and they're certainly not. They're just like everybody else.
Yeah, absolutely true. We have another fan in the background, and it's actually my great pleasure and honour for the first time on this channel to be inviting on my uncle Alan, who is actually an Arsenal fan. Let's get him on as well to join Ray. One sec, we'll get you on, Al. Hey, Al.
Hey, give away all my secrets already.
He tried so hard to make me an Arsenal fan, but I resisted his clutches just about.
Yeah.
Al, it's great to have you on.
There are no photos.
Well, look, if you'd been an Arsenal fan, you'd have actually won something.
Don't remind me. Maybe he tried to save me, but
listen, this has been coming. This has been coming ever since the Glazers got involved, and people started putting money into football that was not earned. You know, it's just become, and the American owners, this is what they love. They want a franchise. They don't want no relegation. They don't want no promotion. They want all the money shared out equally, as it is in the NFL. Isn't that right, Sims?
Yep,
It won't be
exactly.
shared out equally. It won't be shared out equally because they're going to end up with. Sorry to butt in. It won't be shared out equally because they're going to have their own revenue streams. They're going to put the games on pay-per-view and the home club. You know, there's no way Man United are going to say we're getting 30 million people watching our home game. We're going to share that money with the rest of the league when, for argument's sake, Man City are getting 5 million people watching their game. We're certainly not going to give that. So we're going to keep our money. So it's not going to be shared out equally. It's not going to be exactly on the American model because if you look at the American clubs, Liverpool, Arsenal, and United, they've got massive fan bases who are going to pay
massive money.
Money. So they're going to go. They'll have that some of the American business model, but they'll have some differences where it benefits them massively. And if Man United over a season can get, let's say 20 million fans per game more than Man City, and they've got 9 home games, they can have 200 million more fans. And if they're paying a tenner a pop, that's 2 billion quid they could get.
This is my question for Sims. Sims, where are you?
I'm here. Can you see me?
Listen. Yeah, no, I can't see. I have to do the screen or something. You guys have been going home and away every single game that you could go to for so many years until COVID. Yeah? Is that going to change? Is that going to change in the future, do you think?
It's a good question, Al. It's a good question that I'm battling with right now in terms of if we're going to be going home and away or where my morals are, what we want to support, because this European Super League is not something I don't know if I can stand by. It's very tough for me to stomach. It'll be very hard for me to stomach this if it was to come to fruition.
For 10 years, Kroenke has been pulling my guts out.
I know. You've been complaining. You've been complaining every day.
For 10 years, this crap has been going on. And this is what he wanted all along, I guess. I guess that's why they built the new stadium at Spurs. They had to build the stadium to be in it.
And also, Al, what do you say to the point as well that, not so long ago, Arsenal kind of got rid of 55 staff for COVID-related reasons.
Disgusting.
Well, in the background, now we know, in the background, they've been having these discussions about these multi-million, £100 million Super League deals while getting rid of 55 staff.
It's not only that, they poured 120 million from the Bank of England.
I mean, it's absolute disgrace. But in terms of what football fans can do, do you see or do you hear about any protests happening at Arsenal or anything like that?
Nah, the only protest that can happen is I don't know what the TV rights are. I don't know who is going to be showing this, where it's going to be shown, what it's all going to cost. Yeah, but I had enough of watching Arsenal on Sky because it's been such rubbish. So that's gone. Am I going to go and take something else now for some meaningless league? And what are we not? Is the Champions League is no longer the pinnacle of our ambitions as football fans? Is that right? We're not interested in the Champions League anymore.
Apparently,
we've only been trying to win it for 60 years.
It's absolutely true, and I completely agree with that sentiment. But Ray, in terms of the owners, me and Al can obviously talk to the day as talk to the sun comes up about our owners and how awful they've been for us. But as a Man City fan, your owners, you could say by and large have been pretty good for you, and I don't think I've heard. I personally haven't heard many complaints about the Sheikh Mansour and the owners over at Man City. But with this happening, has there been a big turn in that aspect?
Yeah. You've got. I mean, I did a stream. That's why I come on late today with the 2 big City fans. One, Ian Cheeseman. He's been following City home and away. I think 45 years. He does a lot of work on the radio, TV, and stuff like that. And another guy, Colin Savage, who's been supporting City for nearly 60 years. Another big name in with City fans, and basically people aren't going to go. People aren't going to go. You know, as much as we supported the owners, and you know, look, they supported us as a club, and so we've backed them with all the crap that we get. And people are just turning around and say, "Can't back them. I hate what they're doing." But you've got to accept that all these owners and chief executives and everything else and boards, they're not football fans, most of them. Certainly not fans of your club, you know.
Not in the UK. In Germany,
no.
In Germany, it's a completely different situation.
Well, you got the
Billionaires
fan
cannot
ownership.
come in and buy Real Madrid, or cannot come and buy Bayern Munich.
They
Not
can't buy the
possible.
German clubs. Well, no, they
Can't buy the
because,
German clubs.
because of the
Can't corrupt
because of the
German
way the fan.
football.
Yeah, but we're talking about in general here. We're in a situation where, you know, the owners are not. They've not got the football going. You know, they're not football people. They've not got the blood going rushing through their veins where they bleed blue for City or, you know, whatever, white for Spurs or whatever. They don't care. Most of them do not care about.
Do not care. Do not care. Absolutely.
They care about the fans unless it's all about making money. It's a business and nothing else. And that's why this will succeed in one way or another. It will succeed. I mean, you can throw any, and I invite you to throw any reason at me why you think this will fail, and I'll tell you why you're wrong. Because
I'll tell you one thing. As an older fan, you know, I'm less and less inclined to watch the Premier League anymore. It interests me less and less.
You're not an older fan. Apparently, according to some sources, you're a legacy fan. According to these, a legacy fan.
I'm definitely a legacy fan because I saw it all in my time. We had a great team, and I used to love standing on the terraces. What was better than bloody standing on the terraces on the North Bank?
But the
digging
thing
your
is,
heart out. It's all gone wrong. It's all gone wrong.
When you started watching football, there was, I guess, you might be a couple of years older than me. But there was not much football on the telly, and so when I started, you watched every little scrap of football that you could get on the telly. You got your magazines, you got your newspapers. You know, I just remember as a kid would get the paper on a Saturday, and you get the sports section, and you'd read it every single line. You read everything about football and other sports, and now it's so accessible. You know, people don't feel like the need to go to games as much. And I was speaking to a lot of older fans. City have got the oldest, let's say, regular fan base. When they did a survey of the season card holders, City's fans were the oldest, and a lot of them are just turning around and saying, you know, we were struggling whether to go or not in the future. This is it. Whether the club turns around and says we made a mistake, we got it wrong, we're going to go back on it. They'll say the line's been drawn. They've crossed that line. We ain't going back. City. I mean, you can make your jokes or whatever. City are struggling to sell the 2,000 tickets for the game against you guys. Okay, and partly because of all the crap stuff around it. Because you know you have to go on a designated coach or a designated train and pay whatever you're told to pay. You can't come and go as you please. I mean, which is crap because this is how much to care for the fans. The designated train goes from I think Manchester to Euston. And you still got to make your way on public transport up to Wembley. And this people are asking for the money back. They say we don't want to go because of this, because of what's happened. You know, and you know all the other stuff. People are paying 200 quid just to get to the game, and it's a real pain. And your mates aren't going, and people are just turning away. And this is just going to encourage more and more people to turn away. And as I said, I'm talking to some long-time Blues who've covered the game, home and away, Europe, everything, and say, I'm not going. That's it. This is the line. I'm going to do something else with my time, with my money, go and watch non-league or whatever. And but the thing is, they'll drive fans away, and in a few years' time, they'll get new fans. They'll get global fans. We're looking at potentially, they'll turn around and say, well, there's a great stadium here, but it can only hold 50,000. Well, we've got a stadium in Australia that can hold 100,000. So we'll take the game on the road. Let's go to Australia. Look, I'll give you an example. A few years ago, City played Real Madrid in the International Continental Cup or whatever they call
The
it.
friendly
Champions-
cup. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That summer was that the World Cup? There was the internationals going on. So City sent a reserve side, LA Coliseum, 200 quid a ticket, sold out. So there's the appetite around the world. In Liverpool, go to Australia, 100,000 for a pre-season friendly. They'll see they can take certain number of games to Australia, certain number of games all around America, China, Japan, other, South Korea, maybe Singapore. There's enough places around the world that they will fill the stadium or get enough money if they want money through the gate, because most of the money is coming from elsewhere anyway. And then they'll just turn around and say, we don't need,
we don't. You're saying we don't need the domestic fans anymore.
No, they've not needed the domestic fans for ages. I've said that before.
Because I don't know how long you've been watching, but when I first was going, it was a working class game.
Yeah.
You could flip and go on your pocket money, 25p to get in and stand on the terraces. Now you need to be middle class. You need to be, you need to have a big substantial income to go and support your team. If it's Arsenal or Spurs or Chelsea in London, you need a lot of money. Kids can't go anymore.
Yeah.
It's killing the game. What do you think, Sims?
Yeah, no,
the problem is as well.
Yeah, go on, Ray.
If the fans still... No, I was going to say, if us loyal, long-suffering fans turn our back on them, all they'll do is say, right, we need some fans there. We need the atmosphere. We need a crowd. There'll be other fans and they'll say, right, we'll sell tickets at a tenner. And you watch how many people jump at those tickets. How many people, who couldn't afford to go before and support their team because a ticket was 60 quid or 80 quid or whatever.
Well, Ray, it's interesting you could say that, because one of the things that's happened at Arsenal is they've tried to get in on the corporate tourist market.
Yeah.
You book a weekend in London, you get a Premier League game. A lot of the seats that they sell are on these packages.
Yeah. It's something I've been saying at City is going to happen, and you can see happening, and people don't believe me. And I say, look, other clubs are doing this in a big way. City, cheap, and I'll say it again, the season ticket prices have gone up a little bit recently. The cheapest season ticket price is 325 quid for 19 games to watch the best football in the country over the last 5 years.
Sounds like a bargain.
19 games, it's costing me less than 20 quid a ticket, okay? But if they sell it individually, that ticket will cost me 70 quid.
Yeah.
Now, they want as few season cards as possible. Like Liverpool. Liverpool, they've got about 26,000 season card holders or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so many go on open sale because they get these huge package deals, people paying up to 100 quid. I remember a couple of guys came from Norway to see City play. They paid about 185 quid a ticket. And that was just for the ticket. So it's a crazy kind of thing. But the local fans, they don't give a damn about us. We, as I think it was the Chelsea fan said, we just go there mostly, watch a game, chat with our mates, disappear. I know people who turn up, drink outside the ground, 15 minutes before the kickoff, they go into the ground, watch the game, finish the game, go on out, get outside, get something to eat, go back to the pub. They want captive audience. They want people to come from all over the world who will savor that experience. It's a once-in-a-lifetime experience to come in to watch you guys at the Lane or to go to the Emirates Stadium. Once in a lifetime. And as you say, you turn up, I've got to have a shirt. I've got to, whether you've got one already or not, I've got to have an official shirt. I've got to have a program. I've got to get a scarf. I've got to get some crap souvenirs to take back home to my family or whatever it is. I've got to have some lousy, overpriced food and watered-down beer. At 6 quid a pint or whatever it is, and they'll spend 200, 300 quid on a one-off. They'd much rather have someone spending 200 quid than, you sit as an example, than someone spending 20 quid on a season card, per match basis. And it's all about money, and it's always been about money. You go back into the 100 years ago, it was about money. Arsenal buying their way to trophies 100 years ago, whatever it was. It's always been like that. But it's true. Liverpool only set up to make money, set up by an owner who tried to stiff Everton, who were the tenants to Anfield, for more money. They left. He said, I need to get some money in. I'll set up another club, pump them full of money, make some money out of it. And it's always been that way. When the Premier League started, what was that about? It was about money. And whoever was
There's no difference
at
at
the
the
right
start of the
time,
Premier
pay
League.
the money.
The only difference between this and the start of the Premier League is that Sky already had the TV rights and
Yeah.
they were selling the whole thing positive. Yeah, there was no negative. Yeah. If Sky had the rights to this European Money League, I don't think you can call it a
They ain't
Super
going to get the
League.
rights.
No, they haven't got the rights. If they had the rights,
They're not going to get the rights. They can't afford the rights.
they'd be singing
I mean,
its praises.
absolutely. They've got the Premier League rights, so they're committed to the Premier League. This Super League, if it takes off, I've heard today. I was reading that DAZN will pay are offering to pay $3.5 billion for the rights.
How are you going to subscribe?
Who does his own?
You subscribe to DAZN. They might do it pay-per-view. I have no idea how they're going to do it. But if you want to, it's another broadcaster who you're going to have to pay money to. Right now, you're paying Amazon, you're paying BT, you're paying Sky. You'll be paying DAZN and somebody else if you want to watch all the football. It's pathetic, but it's always been the way.
Ray, there's this is more specifically to Tottenham fans, because I've seen a few Tottenham fans kind of have this kind of opinion. Maybe it's because we might feel like we're lucky to be involved in this kind of European Super League, considering the stature of club we really are and essentially what we've performed on the pitch. I think that's a fair comment, but in a sense that some fans out there feel like we shouldn't be complaining about this Super League because we're lucky to be in it, and it's better to be in it than out of it in that sense, the fact that it's going on. But what do you say to those kind of fans who feel that way, that they kind of are excited about a prospect of Tottenham being involved in a Super League, or are they even City fans potentially, maybe younger ones, excited about it?
Well, I've not seen a single City fan. I've not seen a single City fan excited about this. They're all up in arms. The younger ones as well, up in arms about this. Because if you think about it, a lot of the younger ones, they're City through and through. It's not as if their parents were United fans or whoever. Their parents and grandparents were City fans, so they got City blood going through them. Yes, look, the joke is that Spurs and Arsenal don't deserve to be there on from what they've done on the pitch. I was talking about when clubs have last won stuff, and Spurs 1961 we're talking, they won the league.
But if it wasn't for the petrodollars, Man City wouldn't even be, they wouldn't even be in the conversation.
Okay, no. See,
I'm sorry to say.
No, you give it all the time. No, sorry, I have to correct you, Alan. People give it all the time. If you go back to when City in the early 2000s, let's say 2003, 2004, City was still one of the top 20 earning clubs in the country. In Europe, which basically means the world. City were in the top 20. Yep, they were. They were just behind Spurs by about 3-4 million quid.
And they just got promoted then? They just got promoted?
That was in 99. So in about 2003, 2004.
I remember Man City as a great club with great players who I saw play many times. This is not that Man City.
Yeah, well,
this is Emirates Incorporated.
From the 60s and 70s. The point is, they're looking for the teams that are going to get invited, they're looking for the clubs that have got the fan base that will support this. I was talking to Ian Cheeseman earlier on, and he has a connection with Schalke, and they're bottom of the Bundesliga, going to get relegated. But they can fill a stadium with 70,000 fans week in, week out. And so they can see the potential of that fan base to make money and to be a draw. And if they don't get Dortmund or Bayern Munich, maybe they go for Schalke. And Schalke fans might say, the owners, because obviously got the fan ownership as well, they might say, well, what the option is to go into Bundesliga B or drop down a division or have this opportunity to play all the big clubs forever. Let's go for that. There will be people who do that. But, look, there's no denying what you're saying is right, Sim. Spurs are lucky to be invited. If Spurs had... Look, if Spurs were Leicester City with their gates, you wouldn't be invited. And this is not a slight on you guys, because you've got a massive fan base. You've got the crowd, and that fan base pays through its nose for tickets. So they're expecting enough of them to either keep going or buying packages. Look, I'm not just saying this, but you've got a popular channel. Okay, you're running a popular channel. In the last 2 or 3 years, it's exploded. Why? Because there's millions of Spurs fans around the world who want to talk about Spurs, and that's why it's a success. So they're going to pick in terms of success, they're going to pick the biggest clubs, the ones with the huge media presence on Twitter and social media. It sounds daft, but this is what they look at. and it's going to help to promote the product. That's what it is, the product around the world. So yeah, there will be Spurs fans saying, look, we're not going to qualify year in, year out into the Champions League itself. We'll get in through the back door. And to be honest, a lot of fans will take it through the back. Forgive the expression. A lot of you Spurs, no, that's what I've heard. What I've heard is a lot of you Spurs fans are quite happy to take it through the back door. So if you get in the Champions League, that's going to be, why haven't PSG said anything? They might get the Champions League this year through the back door. If City get kicked out, Chelsea get kicked out, and Real Madrid get kicked out, PSG get the Champions League. They don't mind. But but the bottom line is it's all about money. Fans count for nothing. Match-going fans count for noughts because they'll find a new breed of fan, younger fans, overseas fans. That's where the money is. That's where the future is. And us local fans, you guys are slightly different in London because you're a lot richer than we are in Manchester and Liverpool. But the local fans won't add much. We won't add much to the match day income. And if City put the prices up a little, they'll get an extra 2 or 3 million a season. That's it. But you get someone paying 200 quid for a ticket compared to 20 quid. It's a whole new, different ball game. Money. That's it.
And I'll ask you this final question to both of you. I'll start with Al. If it was to be the case where there was punitive punishment for these 6 teams coming back into the league, and they were put down to the 5th tier, like, what would you prefer? Would you prefer your team start back in the 5th tier or go into a Super League?
Oh, they'd have to go into the Super League, I guess. What option have they got? But I mean, really. What you're saying is we should start North London FC Football Club. I'm up for that.
What about you, Ray?
Look, a lot of City fans, if there was a new club with a different ethos that was about Man City, kind of, like a Phoenix club, I think City fans would back that. If we went down to the 8th tier, we'd back that. Because if you get it into your heart, it doesn't matter where you are. And, fans, I know you Spurs fans haven't experienced this dropping down divisions. But, when City did drop down divisions back in the 90s, you still get 30,000 fans wanting to go to games. So, they didn't care where City were, So they potentially still be around, but they wouldn't want to be any part of what's going on now, I don't want to swear on your channel, but it's an illegitimate child. This new league, it really is. You can work out what I want to say.
Polite way of putting it. Very polite way of putting it, Ray. Well, I appreciate it. I definitely agree with the sentiment, and I do appreciate both of you guys giving your time and your opinions. Al, I've got one more question for you though.
Yeah,
there was a comment that I think we should probably address. It says, "How did Uncle Alan become an Arsenal fan when your dad is a Spurs fan?" There, people want to know the story, Al.
Well, it's a long story, but basically, our parents weren't interested in football. My dad never went to a game in his life. So we lived in Stamford Hill, which was very close to Spurs, very close to Arsenal. And I went one way, your dad went the other, and he brainwashed everybody else.
and there's been wars ever since. But
But it's fun. It's fun as long as it's all good-natured. And
it hasn't always been, has it?
Well, I enjoy your channel. I think it's a great channel.
I appreciate it.
I like to see good things happen to nice people.
Well, you're always welcome back on now, and I look forward to seeing you again, hopefully, at some
You know
point
what?
in the future.
Just one thing, Sims.
Go on, Al.
Just one thing. Under normal circumstances, you just sack your manager. You've got a cup final on Sunday, yeah, and you're not even mentioning it.
I haven't talked about. I've barely talked about it all day. And it's happened today. That's how. Yeah, that's the way the football is at the moment. Well, I honestly, the news broke, and I honestly didn't even care. It didn't bother me because what does it mean? The future of football. What does that mean at the moment? It's under attack.
Well, we're supposed to play a semi-final. So is City, like in the next week or so. What are they playing for?
I don't know.
Alan, it's a disgusting tin pot club that sacks the manager 5 days before a cup final. That's disgusting. That's terrible. I feel for Josie.
I look, usually I'll defend my club, but I find it very hard in this current climate to defend my club.
I feel sorry for him. I've got to stick up for him. Defend him a little bit.
Look, I can't defend Tottenham right now.
But the thing is, sacking Josie actually gives you a better chance of winning. So that's why I'm unhappy.
I think what Ben said earlier was completely right. It was just like the George Graham sacking before the semi.
And that didn't pay off, did it? So
that did not. But you did take the lead.
We're very good at taking leads. I give you that. We are very good at taking leads. We're not very good at holding on to them.
Well, Poch was the master of the last-minute goal, wasn't he?
He was, yeah. Go on, Ray.
I'm actually surprised that you got to the final, because I thought you Spurs fans could only manage a semi. That's what I've been told.
Yeah, very good, Ray. Very good, Ray.
Your reserves, with their draw, your reserves would have got to the final.
Well, we beat Chelsea. We beat Chelsea at some point.
We beat Chelsea on the way. Then I take it back.
But look, Al, it's great to have you on the channel. It's been really nice having you on, and good debut as well. And hopefully you'll come on soon as well. Really,
I'd love to.
A lot of very nice comments, and people are very enjoying Uncle Al coming on the channel, and Ray as always as well. Great to have you on.
Keep up. Is Ben all right? I thought he was going to blow his top today.
Yeah, I think he's blown too much energy. I think it's wasted by this time, so he can carry on.
He needs a day. He needs a night off.
He needs a week off after this week, after today. But look, we have run out of time.
I'd love to do it again.
Oh, for sure. We'd love to have you on.
Nice to meet Ray.
And Ray,
cheers, Alan. Take care, mate.
Hey, Ray, always good having you on, Ray, as well. Really appreciate your time.
Cheers, mate.
Let's turn it off, Ray. Ben.
We'll get you off. Don't worry. And that is the live stream. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And that was getting the opinions of other clubs from the top six about, obviously, Liverpool are playing right now, so we could find it difficult to get a Liverpool fan to come on. But that was the fans of the top six kind of giving their opinions on the Super League. Just so for fans out there, just so you know that, you're not alone in the way you feel about where football is going at the moment. Every club, even inside the top six, is feeling in a very similar way. And it's been very, very difficult for 24 hours for football fans in the Premier League. And that was kind of the fallout of what we're seeing out from the news breaking of the Super League, and it does look like it's going to happen. So it's been a very, very difficult past 24 hours. But I really appreciate everyone's comments, super chats, interactions. I really appreciate everyone watching as well and liking the stream. So really appreciate all you for coming along. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, no to the Super League.